Have you ever walked into your house and suddenly felt a peace so profound that you couldn't explain it? As if an invisible presence was there, watching you, but not with judgment, but with love. Maybe you ignored it, maybe you thought it was just an impression. But what if I told you that this feeling could have been something much bigger than you imagine? What if this silent, almost imperceptible feeling is a sign that angels are present in your home? Many people believe that angels are distant, living in an unreachable dimension. But the truth is that they are closer than we imagine. Sometimes they manifest not with trumpets or bright lights, but with small, almost invisible details hidden in everyday life. These are subtle signs that go unnoticed, but that carry profound messages capable of changing the course of an entire life. You may be living with these signs right now. They may be all around you right now. In the smell that appears out of nowhere, in that song that plays at the right moment, or even in a dream that seems more real than reality itself. But be careful, these signs do not appear by chance. They arise at key moments in your journey, when your soul is open to the unseen, when your heart is about to receive an answer. In this video, you will discover the 8 hidden signs that angels are visiting your home, signs that most people ignore. And by ignoring them, they end up missing blessings, answers, and even deliverances. But today, you won't ignore it. Today, you will understand. You will see with the eyes of the Spirit and realize that nothing around you happens by chance, especially when it comes to the presence of celestial beings. Stay with me until the end, because the 8th sign is the rarest of them all. So rare that only a few people in the world have ever felt it. And if you spot this sign in your home, your life could be about to change forever. Get ready. The invisible is about to reveal itself, and what you will discover now can completely transform the way you see your own home. For centuries, humanity has tried to understand the invisible, what the eyes don't see, but the heart feels. In almost every culture in the world, there is a belief in celestial beings who walk among us. They do not appear as they do in ancient paintings, with enormous wings and resplendent robes. They manifest themselves through silence, intuition, sudden protection in moments of danger, and mainly through signs. These signs cannot be explained by logic, but which directly touch the soul of those who are paying attention. If you are watching this video, perhaps you have already noticed something different in your home environment, a type of presence that you cannot see, but that completely changes the air around you. Maybe you've noticed that certain moments seem to be protected by a greater force, or that too many coincidences happen when you're alone. This is not the result of chance. There is a reason why you are here now. There is a bigger reason behind all this. And it is possible that your home is being visited by angels right now, without you even realizing it. Angels are messengers. They are sent from above to carry out specific missions. Sometimes they come to comfort, other times to protect. In rare moments to alert. But the way they communicate is not direct. They use the environment, feelings, and even objects around them to convey their messages. And those who are not in spiritual tune can easily ignore these signs and miss what could be the answer to an ancient prayer. Therefore, throughout this video, you will be guided through a journey of discovery. A journey to open the eyes of your soul and perceive what is hidden from physical eyes. The 8 signs that you will discover below are not just spiritual curiosities. They are portals, clear indications that heaven has touched earth, and perhaps right now your home is being prepared for something divine. With each sign revealed, you will be able to remember situations that you have already experienced and that you had no idea could have been angelic manifestations. This is not just content to watch. It's a spiritual experience to feel, reflect, and perhaps reconnect with something you thought you'd lost. Prepare your heart. The signs will begin to reveal themselves. And in the end, perhaps you will discover that angels have always been around. You just didn't know where to look. Have you ever noticed when, out of nowhere, a soft perfume invades the room without any explanation? No burning incense, no freshly sprayed perfume, no flowers nearby. Just a delicate fragrance, sometimes sweet like jasmine, other times fresh, like lavender, that appears for a few moments and disappears as if it had never existed. This is the first hidden sign. When angels are around, they don't need to show themselves physically. They reveal themselves with sensations. And one of the most striking is through smell. In spiritual tradition, angels carry the aroma of peace, purity, and divine presence. And often the only clue that they are there is this inexplicable scent that appears at random moments, almost always when you are silent, in prayer, or immersed in deep thought. It's not an ordinary smell. It is something that touches the soul, that calms the mind, that breaks any tension effortlessly. And the more sensitive your connection with the spiritual, the clearer this perception will be. There was the case of a woman who lived alone in a small apartment. She was not religious, but she went through a very difficult phase: depression, insomnia, losing her job, distancing herself from her family. One night, while crying alone on the couch, she felt an unknown aroma take over the room, a smell so comforting that, for the first time in months, she felt at peace. There was nothing around him that could explain it. No candles, no cleaning products, no flowers. It was only after a long time that she understood that moment was a sign, a silent visit of something sacred. From that night on, his life began to change. She had the strength to start over, and to this day, from time to time, that same perfume appears, as if to say, you are not alone. And perhaps you have also experienced something similar. Maybe it didn't matter. Maybe he explained it rationally, like a breeze carrying some distant scent. But the truth is that when the divine presence enters an environment, it leaves marks. And one of them is this perfume of heaven. If you have ever felt this, even just once, understand, you have been visited. You have been touched by something that goes far beyond this world. Now imagine, if this is just the first sign, what else could be happening around you without you noticing? The second sign is even more mysterious and happens at the quietest times of the day or night. Imagine being at home, alone, and suddenly feeling like someone has walked past you. A slight shiver runs down the back of your neck. The hairs on your arms stand up. No sound, no logical explanation. But the sensation is as real as the ground beneath your feet. This is not paranoia, it's not imagination. It is the subtle manifestation of the angelic presence. Angels, as they are spiritual beings, are not limited to physical laws like us. They don't make noise when walking. They don't need to open doors. They don't leave visible traces. But when its energy passes through space, the human body reacts. Because the body feels what the soul recognizes. This sudden chill, this feeling that something or someone is close, but without causing fear, could be the reflection of a spirit of light circulating through the rooms of your home. This type of presence is often felt in moments when you are most emotionally vulnerable, when you are in prayer, when you are reflecting on life, when you are on the verge of despair. It is in these moments that the sky moves, and when an angel enters the scene, the body feels it. He doesn't come to scare, he comes to comfort. But because its vibration is so high, the human body, still attached to matter, responds with goosebumps, with chills, with that strange feeling of being watched, not by something evil, but by someone who watches over you. It is important to differentiate this sensation from those that cause fear or discomfort. When an angel manifests, even if your body reacts with shivers, your soul feels peace. The atmosphere changes, the environment seems lighter, the silence seems deeper, Everything around you becomes more serene. It's as if the house itself breathes a sigh of relief. Reports like this are repeated in different parts of the world. People who claim to have felt a presence, seen a shadow of light crossing the corridor, felt an invisible touch on the shoulder, and soon after experienced deliverance, received an answer, or experienced a profound spiritual transformation. These are not coincidences, these are demonstrations, signs sent from above to remind you you are being taken care of even when you think you are alone. Now think, how many times has this happened to you? How many times have you ignored it, thinking it was just your mind playing tricks? Maybe it's time to look more closely at the invisible details, because when the invisible manifests itself, it is a sign that the sky is in movement inside your home. There are moments when, out of nowhere, everything seems to become calmer. The environment, which was previously heavy, tense, almost suffocating, is transformed into a place of inexplicable tranquility. Fights stop. The crying subsides. The anxiety, which seemed to dominate everything, dissipates like smoke. There was no concrete change. No one entered, no one left, but something happened, something invisible. This is the third sign, the sudden change of atmosphere. Angels, when entering an environment, do not just observe, they transform. They bring with them the energy of order, peace, healing, and relief. Where there was once confusion, they bring clarity. Where there was heaviness, they bring lightness. This change is almost always silent. It happens in seconds, and it generally goes unnoticed by those who live in a rush, in noise, in distraction. But for the sensitive, for the attentive, it is impossible to ignore. A mother said that during a difficult morning, when her young daughter was burning with a fever and nothing seemed to work, she knelt on the floor of her room and prayed in silence, without words. Just tears. The room was charged, the air felt thick, as if something was wrong in every way. And then, after minutes of absolute silence, she felt it. A lightness, a breath of peace. The room seemed to open up. The air became fresher, and his daughter, who was struggling with fever, fell fast asleep. The next morning he was fine. No fever, no pain, just with a serene smile on his face, as if he had dreamed of something heavenly. These moments are common when angels come into action. They don't announce themselves with words, but the space around them changes, the climate changes, the temperature, the sound, even the light seems different. And even if you don't see them, you feel them. You realize that there is something sacred operating in that moment. And more than that, you feel safe, that something bigger is in control. Many ignore these moments of peace, thinking they are psychological relief, that it's just a change of mood. But what if it isn't? What if it's the answer to a prayer you couldn't even express? What if it's a clear sign that heaven has heard you and sent help? Maybe you're surrounded by signs like this, and you just need to slow down, quiet down, and notice. Because when the atmosphere changes without explanation, believe me, the heavens are touching your home. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with the feeling that someone called you by name, but there was no one around? Have you ever opened your eyes suddenly for no reason at exactly 3 or 4 in the morning, with your heart racing, as if you had been awakened by something invisible? This is one of the most ignored signs, and at the same time, one of the most spiritually powerful, the sudden awakening in the silence of the early morning. It's not about insomnia. It's not just a sleep disorder. This awakening happens with a purpose. Ancient mystics called this sacred time, a time when the physical world is silent and the spiritual world is in full activity. This is when the veil between the two worlds becomes thinner, and those who are awakened at this time, for no visible reason, may be being called by angels. This call is not to cause fear, it's to reveal. In many accounts throughout history, angels appear at dawn to deliver messages, give direction, and offer comfort. But they don't impose themselves. They play softly, they wake up the soul, and they hope you're willing to listen. That's why, when waking up like this, it's common to feel an inexplicable impulse to pray, reflect, or simply remain silent. There is a story about a man who, for several nights in a row, always woke up at 3:15 a.m. He thought it was the stress. But on one of those early mornings, instead of trying to go back to sleep, he remained silent, and he heard a very clear phrase in his mind: "Forgive before it's too late." That disturbed him deeply. The next day, he looked for his brother, whom he hadn't spoken to in 10 years. That same week, the brother suffered a serious accident, but survived. That morning changed their fate. And man to this day is sure he was woken up by an angel, not to scare him, but to give him a second chance. These awakenings are not random. And if you've been waking up at the same time night after night, feel it as a calling. Don't fight. Sleep. Don't curse insomnia. Calm your mind and listen. Because perhaps an answer is being breathed into the silence, and heaven is waiting for you to stop and listen. Because when angels have something important to say, they don't wait for dawn. Imagine hearing, for just a few seconds, soft, distant music, almost like a heavenly whisper. A melody that does not come from television, nor from the radio, nor from any electronic device. A song that seems to come out of thin air, without a visible source, but that directly touches your soul. This is one of the rarest and most special signs, the angelic sound. Angels, when they manifest, often carry sounds that do not belong to this world. It could be a harp, a subtle symphony, a harmonious choir, or just a soft, continuous tone, like an eternal note that vibrates in another dimension. Those who have heard these sounds describe the experience as if time had stopped, as if the environment had become sacred for a few moments. This sign usually happens in moments of deep emotional transition, during mourning, in periods of illness, or even in moments of intense gratitude. The sound appears not to distract, but to console, to say, without words, "We are here with you." Some people report listening to these songs before falling asleep. Others when waking up, some in prayer, and they all describe the same thing, a deep peace that invades them completely. There is the case of an elderly woman who, after losing her husband, spent months in total silence, isolated, living in the midst of longing and pain. One morning, while holding the rosary with trembling hands, she heard a melody. She was so beautiful that she thought she was dreaming, but I was awake. And at the same time, she felt a gentle warmth in her chest, as if she were being hugged by invisible arms. Since that night, she has never felt alone again. The most curious thing is that these angelic songs are never chaotic. They are never agitated. They do not cause fear. They are simple, deep, almost as if they carry a message in each note. And even if a person doesn't understand with their mind, their heart understands. Because there are sounds that are not made for the ears. They are made for the soul. So if one day you are in absolute silence and you hear something you can't explain, don't be alarmed. Just close your eyes and feel. Perhaps at that very moment your home is being visited and the heavens are singing softly, just for you. Have you ever noticed white feathers appearing unexpectedly around your home? In places where there are no open pillows, down clothes, or open windows to justify the presence of that small fragment of lightness. Maybe a feather on the floor of your room, another on the sofa, or even in unlikely places, like inside the car or on a closed Bible. This is the sixth sign, the symbolic manifestation through white feathers. It seems too simple, doesn't it? But this is precisely why so many ignore it. because they expect the sacred to come with lightning and thunder, when in fact the most profound signs are the most discreet. Feathers are, historically, one of the oldest symbols of angelic intervention, and there is a reason for this. They represent lightness, spirituality, protection, and the certainty that the invisible left a visible trail. In several spiritual traditions, white feathers symbolize the presence of guardian angels. They are considered small, heavenly signatures intentionally left for those who need a reminder, you are not alone. And the most impressive thing is that these feathers appear at moments when you most need comfort, but least expect it. A young woman reported that after an intense anxiety attack, she sat on the floor of her room, shaking, feeling lost. With teary eyes, she just whispered, "If I'm not alone, show me you're here." Silence, no response, no voice. But when he opened his eyes, there was a single white feather next to his hand on the ground. She had no idea how it got there, but in that instant, I knew. I wasn't alone. Someone heard her. Another account tells of a 7-year-old boy who, after losing his grandfather, told his mother that he saw a man of light in his room, who handed him a feather before disappearing. The mother, frightened, asked where this feather was, and he, smiling, pointed inside his school notebook. When I opened it, there it was, a small, intact, white feather. How to explain this? How can we deny spiritual intervention in moments like this? These signs are not meant to impress. They come to confirm, to ease the pain, to remember that even in the midst of chaos, there is order being created by invisible hands. When a feather appears, it is no coincidence. It's as if the sky has dropped a little piece of itself, just to let you know that you are being watched, guided, protected. So the next time a feather appears where it shouldn't be, don't kick it, don't ignore it, take it with reverence, give thanks, because perhaps at that moment an angel passed by and wanted to leave something behind. You know that moment when you're about to make a mistake, make a thoughtless decision, or follow a path that's clearly not the right one, and something suddenly stops you, an unexpected delay, an object that disappears, a phone that rings at the exact time, something that changes your route completely. This is the 7th sign, silent intervention through events that appear to be coincidences, but are in fact divine redirections. These seemingly random interruptions are often the signature of an angel. They won't yell at you, they won't hold your hand by force, but they can move the elements around to prevent you from getting into risky situations or straying from your purpose. They work behind the scenes, coordinating the invisible details of your daily life. And this is so subtle that you only notice it later. A young man was about to leave home to meet friends one night, but without explanation, the car key disappeared. He looked everywhere. Nothing. Annoyed, he gave up leaving. The next day, I learned that there had been an accident on the exact same street I was going to at the same time. 2 people died. When he finally found the key in the pocket of a jacket he hadn't even worn, he understood. This was no coincidence. This type of intervention often happens in spiritually sensitive families. A father who decides to change the route back home and avoid a traffic jam caused by a serious accident. A mother who, without knowing why, decides to go to her daughter's room and arrives at the exact moment when she was about to make an irreversible mistake. A professional who misses a flight and, because of that, escapes a tragedy. This is not just fate, it's protection. Angels act as guardians of time. They see what's ahead, what's to the side, and what you can't see. This is why they are able to act before the danger manifests itself. They don't avoid all difficulties, because some are part of growing up. But when the path becomes destructive, they intervene. When the decision becomes fatal, they delay. When the choice takes you away from your essence, they make the clock turn in your favor. Don't underestimate the power of a delay from a cancellation. from an unexpected obstacle. Sometimes what you call frustration, heaven calls deliverance. And what seems to have gone wrong could be what saved you. So the next time something goes wrong, take a deep breath. Look around. Because it could be that in that moment, an angel changed everything just to keep you exactly where you need to be. Have you ever suddenly felt an inexplicable peace, a relief that doesn't match the situation around you? Have you ever been in the midst of chaos, loss, pain, and yet for a moment you felt as if something was embracing you from within, as if an invisible presence was at your side, not saying a word, but saying everything with its silence? This is the eighth sign, peace that invades without explanation. It's easy to feel peace when everything is going well, but when everything falls apart and you still feel calm, that doesn't come from the world. This comes from above. Angels are messengers of God, but they are also bearers of the peace that passes all understanding. When they approach, their subtle energy manifests in the form of serenity. It is as if the heart, even though it is wounded, knows that it is being cared for. This peace is not emotional, it's not mental, it's spiritual. It invades the most broken spaces of the soul and does what no words can: calm what seemed impossible to calm. Often, this peace comes during prayer, Bible reading, or even silent crying in the dark of the room. It's not a response, it's a presence. A woman says that when she was diagnosed with a serious illness, her immediate reaction was despair. But that night, before going to sleep, she prayed without demanding healing, without asking for explanations. I just said, "Sustain me." And there, in the absolute silence, she felt something she had never experienced before. It wasn't euphoria, it wasn't blind hope, it was peace. As if an invisible hand rested on your shoulder, as if someone formless stood at her bedside whispering, "You are not alone." Another man who was going through emotional and financial bankruptcy thought about giving up everything. But on an ordinary morning, when he opened the window, he saw the sun touching the wall with an unusual brightness. That light made him stop, breathe, to feel. He fell to his knees, cried like a child, and in that moment, without hearing a single voice, he felt an unshakable certainty that something was about to change. He didn't know why. I just knew there was a presence there, a presence that filled him with strength, of peace, of faith. The presence of angels does not depend on complex rituals. They do not need to be invoked with formulas. They come closer when your spirit is willing, when your pain cries out for meaning, when your soul is open to hear what the world doesn't say. And the peace they bring is the seal that heaven is closer than you imagine. Therefore, if in the midst of the storm you feel calm, if in the midst of loss you feel relief, don't question yourself, just be thankful. Because perhaps at that very moment an angel enveloped your home, and he left as a gift the peace that only the heavens can deliver. After knowing these 8 hidden signs of the presence of angels, perhaps a silent question is echoing within you. But why me? Why do these signs appear in your home, in your life, in moments that no one else sees? The answer is not random. You are in the calling. He's on the mission. It lies in the fact that you are not just someone passing through this world. You carry within you a divine spark, a path, a purpose that the heavens know. And the angels, as envoys of the Almighty, are not around you out of sympathy. They are around you because they know what you don't yet know about yourself, that there is something big in the works. The climax of this story is not in the signs themselves, but in what they reveal about the invisible that surrounds you. Every feather found, every mysterious sound, every soft light, every change of route, every feeling of peace. These are not random manifestations. They are part of a great divine reminder you were chosen for something that goes beyond the ordinary. Many ignore these signs because they live trapped by what their eyes see. But you've come this far. You heard, you noticed, and that makes you responsible for what you feel now deep in your soul. It doesn't matter if until today you have felt small, invisible, broken, or distant from God. Angels don't visit perfect homes. They manifest themselves in environments where there is a need for healing, protection, restoration. And if these signs have appeared around you, it is because heaven has already begun to surround you. Right now, as you hear these words, perhaps your mind is recalling small moments from the past, that different breeze, that strange feeling of being watched, but in a good way, that slight shiver in silence, that peace in the midst of chaos. Now, everything starts to make sense. The world tries to distract us with noise, with fear, with routine. But the angels, they don't need the fuss. They manifest themselves in the detail. And if you pay attention, you'll realize they were never far away. You were the one who perhaps had your eyes turned outward when you needed to look inward. You are not alone. Never was. Even on the days when you felt like no one was listening. To you, someone from above was by your side. Even when he didn't ask for help, it was sent. Even when there was no way out, they opened invisible paths. This is the moment when everything changes. Because now you know. And with knowledge comes awareness. And with awareness comes awakening. If all these signs were already happening around you, imagine what you haven't noticed yet. Imagine how many times the angels tried to warn you, protect you, console you, and you, without knowing it, thought it was just chance, just a coincidence. But what if I told you that there are even deeper, even rarer signs? Signs that almost no one recognizes, but that mark moments of direct intersection between heaven and earth. There are reports of people hearing their name being called in. The absolute silence of the house. Others saw shadows of light pass through the hallway. Some received dreams so vivid that when they woke up, they knew it wasn't just imagination. There are messages that arrive without words, guidance that appears suddenly, and encounters with strangers that disappear as quickly as they appear, but leave traces of something divine. Do you believe this is possible? Do you think you've ever experienced something like this and didn't realize it? The truth is that the spiritual world is in constant movement, and the actions of angels go far beyond what the eyes can capture. But there is something even more impressive, something few dare to tell, a sign that not only confirms the presence of angels, but reveals when they were sent directly by God on an urgent mission at your side. And that's what we'll talk about in the next video, because what is about to be revealed will completely change the way you see your life, your challenges, and what is going on around you. Are you ready to discover the rarest and most powerful signal of all? Now that you know the 8 hidden signs of the presence of angels in your home, perhaps your way of seeing everyday life will never be the same again. The little things aren't so little anymore. The details, previously ignored, now carry weight. A sound, a breeze, a light, a sensation, anything can be a sign. Everything can be a message. Because when the heavens move toward you, they don't make a sound. They make sense. You no longer need to wait for great miracles to know that you are being taken care of. The miracle can be in the silence that comforts you, in the calm that visits you without reason, in the synchrony that frees you from the worst. And this is already a sign that the spiritual world manifests itself, especially where there is faith, even if fragile, hope, even if tired, and love, even if in pieces. These signs are not the privilege of saints or perfect people. They are answers from above for hearts that seek meaning, for homes that cry out for peace, for souls who, even though they are hurt, still believe that there is something greater governing all things. And now, with this knowledge, you have a choice. You can go back to your routine as if nothing had changed, or you can start living with more attentive eyes, a more sensitive heart, and a more awakened spirit. Because the signs continue. They don't stop, they just wait for someone to notice them. Maybe this very night when you close your eyes, you will feel that subtle presence. Maybe tomorrow, a coincidence will remind you of what you heard here. And when that happens, you will know you're not alone, never was. Close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath. Remember the most difficult time in your life. The one where no one seemed to hear you, where everything seemed lost. Now ask yourself honestly, how did you overcome that? How, even without strength, did you continue? Maybe you don't know how to explain it. Maybe you never understood where that relief came from. That sudden courage, that invisible hand that lifted you up when everything around you seemed to be falling apart. But now, maybe you know. How many times has the sky tilted towards you and you didn't notice? How many times have angels sent by God touched your home, your mind, your spirit, and you just moved on thinking it was a coincidence? The truth is that you have been taken care of, chosen, protected, not out of merit but out of love. A love so great that it manifests itself even when you don't ask for it, even when you doubt, even when everything falls apart. Angels don't choose perfect houses. They choose homes where there is pain, where there is struggle, where there is soul, where there is someone willing to stand up once again, even without understanding how. And if you've made it this far, listening to every word, feeling every scene as if it were yours, then this isn't just a video, it's a calling. Live attentively, walk in faith, and above all, never ignore the signs again. Because maybe while you were listening to all this, they were already there, right next to you.